Cosmo Canyon, Ross.
Cosmo
We're
Canyon.
finally here.
We have talked a lot about Cosmo Canyon in bits and pieces.
Yeah, we have.
It is a great chapter. One of my favorites so far.
Yes.
It kind of feels like the like there's two Cosmo Canyons. One being like the more like almost like in a weird way like the advertised like tourist trap, and then like the more spiritual aspect to it.
Yes.
And so like those are like the two kind of like different themes that I hear.
Yeah, that's a great point. And you said the phrase that I was going to see if you guys felt the same way, tourist trap.
Yes.
Totally felt like
Yeah.
a tourist trap.
Yes.
And it ties into like the attitude of Bugenhagen and the other sages or planeteers.
Fellows, yeah.
I feel like you couldn't nail Cosmo Canyon more for like hitting the nostalgia, everything that's cool about Cosmo Canyon, it's here.
But also scoping it out.
It's so much more interesting than I could have imagined. The deal of like, okay, it's kind of, I mean, Ramen Doodles writes in and says, I love the Joshua Tree, Santa Fe vibes of Cosmo Canyon, especially right before the night scene, the sunset light across the town, all the cool hippie ornaments, sick natural looking archways. Maybe want to do ayahuasca in a $25 Walmart cloud costume. No doubt about that. But I think it's that vibe of like, spiritual place, interesting place. Also, the end is like a little bit too fancy. A lot of the conversations the NPCs are having, I'm like, it kind of feels like Burning Man. You know, it's just like everything.
I've never been to Sedona, and I don't know if this is it, but I think it's Sedona.
Right. I love, and it's such an interesting, detailed way of looking at Cosmo Canyon of like, it's kind of sold out in some ways. And so much of that is coming through Bugenhagen.
Yep.
Hagen, however you want to pronounce it, who's always been...
And also Tifa.
What do you mean?
So I think it's such an interesting thing where like, in a way, Tifa had a spiritual experience.
Yes. And they don't care.
And she communicates that and they don't care.
Yes.
And I think that says a lot about where Cosmo Canyon is.
You would think of any town, any NPCs we've come across in this entire game, the Cosmo Canyon people would be the most in tune with the party's mission. The planet is in danger. We need to save it. But they are like, the planet is all powerful. It will heal itself. You do the photography mission for the ill omens.
Yes.
Their conclusion is that, the planet as powerful as ever. Nothing to worry about, everybody.
And even like Tifa's confession, like around the fire where she's talking about this and trying to unpack like, I fell into the live stream, everybody. And I don't know how much I can blame just kind of the animation, the production of the game, but like people aren't like, what? You know, it's just, it's like, it's a tiny
they
little
like,
one of those.
Yeah.
But even when Aerith later on says, I'm an ancient, and they're like, okay. Like, what is going on here, you guys? Yeah,
they're too comfortable where they are.
I guess so. And it's just buying a hotel inn and doing some drugs and being like, oh, I had a profound experience.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, you haven't gone on a retreat with Ram Dass? I don't know what you're doing with your life. You know, it's that type of vibe, you know?
Ram Dass is cool, though.
Look, I'm down with Ram Dass.
So I was not expecting this angle on it at all. I don't know if it's present at all in the original game. But
I'd have to double check. I don't think so.
I don't think so, no.
But I loved it. I was like, this is incredible. These stupid people living in denial.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
and
it ties into Red's quest here. Nanaki's quest is about having the courage to look at a situation from a new angle. Is your dad a coward, or could he have been doing the best he could at the time? Red has to be open to seeing things a different way. The people of Cosmo Canyon are not.
That's a very interesting contrast there. And I think by the end, also Bugenhagen is in that space of just I think I've it seems to me that I've grown complacent in the way that I am thinking about things.
Yes.
So I don't want you to make that same mistake. Get out of here.
Which is fascinating. I feel like that pivot came a little bit quick and out of a weird place, but I love where it opens. Drake writes in saying, Bugenhagen's kind of a dick, right?
A little bit.
And RJ also says, does anyone hate Bugenhagen?
Yeah.
He admits that his thinking was wrong eventually, but he never actually apologizes for anything. And then Travis Manick says, I love that... Can we take back the best comment from the other person? Because Travis Manick says, I feel like Booger Toboggan is a bit...
All right, we got him.
Yeah.
We got him, guys. We got him.
is a bit more of a religious nut this time around. He remarks multiple times on how the team just needs more education or are ignorant as opposed to a source of truth about the plan of the live stream. The awkward clapping, the rituals, the attendance. I don't care what anyone says. It gives me creepy vibes.
Yep.
That it is unbelievable. And this was where I stand up and applaud playing this game, is having the first encounter with Bugenhagen, who's like the wise man is going to teach you the ways of the world. It's how his role. It's how it's always been.
Yeah.
And immediately, well, it's like, I think you're listening to the phonograph and he's like, it's the sound of the planet. And it should be like the stupid screaming from the original game, but it's the sound of the weapon. And Tifa's like, it's actually the weapons. I just found the live stream. I was actually just carried by one. It's a whole big thing. And he's like, no, can we get her to the classes? Can we get her out of here? I was like,
she's challenging my beliefs. That's not allowed.
It is such an awesome angle to have for him of just so stuck in his ways. Also, we have an ancient here and it's still like, not interested. It's such a fascinating angle.
Yeah. You know, the gatekeeper, the old guy, Bugenhagen, being like, I am wise. Who's this young person coming and telling me something that I don't know? Right. No, thank you.
Yeah.
I disagree.
And again, I didn't quite get his pivot by the end where suddenly he's like, actually, you guys are right. Maybe I should be open-minded. Like, I don't know where that's exactly coming from.
I think he took his own medicine because that's the whole reason that he brings Nanaki, which is just Anakin with the N moved to the front of it.
Oh my God.
Had to say it. That's the reason. This is all I could think about in 97. I'm sorry. That's the reason he sends him on the quest, is he's like, you are stuck in your ways thinking that your dad was a good for nothing coward. So he sends him on the journey to to discover the truth.
Yeah.
And I think the process of doing that makes him realize, oh, maybe I should also be open-minded about things and consider what these people have to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I guess I didn't think of his turnaround to be that, I guess, completely unfounded. And I also see like where that kind of comes from, but it just kind of seems like his knee-jerk reaction is to be like that does not fit within anything that I know about the planet.
Right.
That seems weird. You just need to learn a little bit more. But then like as he gets it, like, oh, wait a second, like these are people that are like have been with Nanaki, and like the more that I spend time with them, like, oh, maybe they do have more insight and wisdom based on their travels than I've had because I've been here for, so long. So like he just seems like a kind of like a critical thinker. It wouldn't take him to me like that long to realize like, oh, am I just having this like kind of like shitty knee-jerk response? Maybe I am.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you guys ever met an old person that changed their mind?
Oh,
I'm sure it's happened. But just with the general attitude of Cosmo Canyon, there's a Queen's Blood player there. I don't remember what her name is, but you fight her kind of on the main deck.
She sucked.
Yeah, and she is like, Queen's blood is of the planet. She is given to us. Like playing Queen's blood is like communing with the planet. And then when you beat her, she's like, this is a dark portent. Queen's blood is actually evil because you beat me.
Bobby Corwin says there's an NPC.
Corwin. Nice.
There's an NPC that says, you heard of phoenix feces? Supposedly they're great for your health, but it looks like they're sold out, is what somebody next to the item store says.
Yeah.
Beto's Burrito writes in and says, Cosmo Canyon blew my socks off. In a game filled with best of all time video game towns, Cosmo Canyon might take the cake. An underrated part of video games is the sightseeing on a disc aspect of just checking out cool environments. And Cosmo Canyon is like an Arizona National Park tourist trap on JRPG steroids.
There it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
If I could just have a 5-hour documentary just about them designing Cosmo Canyon, like, don't you want to know where this tone comes from?
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Is it the
I thought about that
writers,
as well.
like who is actually on that team that's like, this should be a sold-out American Southwest hippy-dippy vibe. That's such a specific take.
It works so well that, it has to be intentional. I'm sure there's no accidents like this in this game.
Brace Gilbert says, earlier, we had the Crow's Nest area, which was a non-violent commune where people sat around, got high, said Queen's Blood would heal the world, etc. You remember Crow's Nest, that whole area?
Loved it.
Cosmo Canyon is a more establishment version of that. Our heroes come expecting to be accepted, in particular Tifa and Barrett, Barrett thinks his cause is just.
Yeah.
But Cosmo Canyon is full of granola activists who criticize his radical actions.
Yes.
Yeah,
Tifa
that's a good way
has
to
doubted
look at
their
it.
tactics since the first game, so she is primed to find common cause, but instead she finds them lacking in rising to the severity of the moment. I love the complex writing here. Nojima, I see you. Who's lead writer for
Fantastic
this
comment.
Yeah.
And we'll get to this soon, I'm sure, but the conversations that you have around the pyre at night are some of my favorite in the whole game.
Yeah.
And I think it starts getting at some of the big themes of the game.
Well, we can talk about that
chapter?
now. Yeah, because I think the Tifa stuff is interesting, where she's trying to be really delicate of like, we came here for answers. Like, I'm frustrated. I don't think you have the answers. I'm not trying to insult planetology.
Yeah.
I understand the folio books got their start here. That's kind of cool, but let's
need
be
those.
real here.
Okay, so Yuffie, you talked to her briefly. She's like, what is all this nonsense? She's like a total fatalist, which makes sense when you think about her horrific backstory.
Yeah.
Not that everyone else doesn't also have a horrific backstory.
Well, right. That's true, but also just like from her perspective, this would be the place where you'd be like, this sucks.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
she's like, when you die, you're dead. That's it. This is all we got.
Yeah.
And Barrett is the one that really got me here, because you talk to him and they like gave him the everything happens for a reason spiel.
Yes.
You know?
Yep.
Like, nothing matters. The planet is so too big to fail.
Yeah.
It's so powerful it'll heal itself. Their whole thing here. And he is like, no. I view Barrett as the kind of the conscience of the party a lot of times in this game.
Yeah.
Like his ethics are dead on most of the time, I think.
Yeah, they yes, I think as the party as a whole, like they have kind of embraced, like he is the spirit oftentimes of like what they're doing. Like the driving factor moving forward oftentimes comes from like his passion for saving the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the big thing, is like going into this area, I'm like, I can't wait to see what Barrett says about it. And then him just being like, I don't freaking know about this guy.
Yes. He's like, he instantly sees through the nonsense of Cosmo Canyon. And his quote is, we got to fight or nothing will change.
Yeah. Right.
I think this is one of the big themes of the game.
Right.
You have to try, you have to, you have to try to change things or you'll fail.
Right.
And that means a lot when we're talking about a game where we already know, or you can already know what's to come.
Yeah.
A game where the idea of narrative inevitability is literal.
That's the point of what we're doing here.
Yeah. And so this is the start of where tons of things happen, and it happens in the Zack interlude soon too.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, they are talking about changing the events of the game for the better, whatever those might be. And we can get into that in the spoiler cast afterwards for more specifics.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm fully on board with the message. This game is like, you can change things.
I'm fully on board with it, and also the fact that they saw it so clearly as like, well, Cosmo Canyon in this way represents almost like a pacifism as the route forward, which is not Avalanche.
Right.
And how would they react to that being told, like, and he even says this, like, as I was talking to somebody had called him, I think, like, presumptuous or something like that. Do you remember? Like, there was something where they said that it was presumptuous of you to think that you can save the planet because the planet doesn't need saving.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And he was like, that's bullshit. And I applaud Cosmo Canyon for creating that moment where Barrett like has then renewed resolve for what he needs to do moving forward.
This was just a clip from the best, most thorough discussion about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth on the internet. It was part of MinnMax's Deepest Dive, where we took the game, broke it up into 5 chunks, and had a multi-part game club discussion all about it. It's a blast. It's all on MinnMax's YouTube channel. You can check it out there, or you can directly support content like this by going to patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's and unlocking the podcast version of it. You can always subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Thanks so much, everybody.